Thank you so much, and welcome back from lunch. As Shane said, I am Rebecca Jensen. I'm the CEO of Midwest Real Estate Data, also known as MRED. And MRED is a regional MLS that is not just covering the greater Chicago area, but we spill over into neighboring states of Illinois, and we are the majority of Illinois. We have about 47,000 subscribers, give or take, depending on the marketplace. And so while it's a pleasure to be an MLS CEO, I'm also grateful to serve as the chair of RESO, the Real Estate Standards Organization. And RESO has long been a passion of mine. I've been in the MLS industry since 1998, when there were definitely dial-up modems and people were trying to shift from the paper real estate books to an online environment. And at the time, I was the CEO of an MLS in Utah where we built most of our technology in-house. And I remember working with the very robust RETS standard that was created by the National Association of Realtors around that same time. And it was a conference that I went to at the National Association of Realtors building in Chicago. And there were probably at that time maybe less than 100, maybe 60 to 70 people that were trying to create the RETS standard at the time. And a bunch of MLSs got together and said, hey, it's too important to have standards in real estate to leave it up to just one organization. And so it was around that time, and this was probably 2010, that a bunch of MLSs said, hey, we are going to help the National Association of Realtors create updated standards. And so we took the great work that was done with RETS, and we said we also need to create a data dictionary, because it's important to transfer data from one server to another, certainly, and RETS does that very well. But we also need to have a way to describe that data. And so we created the first data dictionary with maybe 100 fields. It was bedrooms and bathrooms and how many cars can you park in your garage, very basic fields at the time. And over the years, we were able to innovate and create a very robust data dictionary, and then also help create the RESO API and many other standards. And so it's been a labor of love for many people, and that is part of what we would like to discuss with you on our next panel. So I'd like to invite my panelists up, please, and we can continue the discussion. Thank you very much, and we'll just go down the line, and would you please introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about where you're from, the company that you represent. Martin?
Sure, so good afternoon. So my name is Martin Mucha, and I'm the CEO of Igloo, and we are a Czech-based company which is focusing on digitization of the real estate processes, including MLS core systems and bank assurance services.
Hi, my name is Anthony de Ketelaere. I know it's a hard name to pronounce. I'm from Belgium. I'm the sole founder of Yes MLS. Yes MLS is a MLS system with the end in mind, and that's a global cooperation. So we already tackled a lot of systems that needed to be taken care of, and of course, RESO is one of them.
Great, thanks.
Hi, I'm Scott Little. I'm with CoreLogic. Earlier in my career, I have run business divisions in mortgage, in insurance, and location intelligence. And now I've moved over to the real estate space, and one of the responsibilities that I have is growing our international business. And so many of you know Matrix, which is our MLS software platform that has over 1 million agents in the United States, and now Matrix is deployed in 20 countries around the world in various languages.
Wonderful. Great.
Ahmed Elbatrawy, or Ahmed Elbatrawy. I'm the founder of Arab MLS. We are the exclusive right for the Matrix in the Middle East, and we have today, but they don't have the logo or the flag for the UAE, but we have Dubai MLS And we have Egypt MLS. We just launched Dubai MLS today and Egypt MLS.
Congratulations. Oh. And Ahmed, well, let's start with you, since you just launched an MLS, right? So it's obviously fresh on your mind about what the challenges might be, but also obviously the opportunities. So can you speak a little bit about what that's like?
You know, building an MLS was not an easy task, which is MLS, as people knows about it, they think it's a plug and play. It's a PlayStation, you're gonna have it, you're gonna plug it into the wall, then you're gonna have an MLS working. MLS is, the first thing is it's an engine, it's a component, and this engine, you need a car around the engine. So there is a lot of requirements around the MLS. I've been doing this for the last 3 years with CoreLogic. We successfully built an MLS in Egypt, and it's a governmental MLS, and you know, I'm so proud to say that I have the first .gov domain in the world for an MLS, which is, we have this in Egypt, we work with the government. In Dubai, we are endorsed by the Dubai Land Department, and we are trying to take our way step by step. Just building an MLS is not, it's not that easy as you think, as long as you understand the business and you have a powerful partner like CoreLogic, you know, and we're very lucky to have the Matrix, which is the platform that almost run the whole United States of America. You know, most of the associations and MLSs in America.
Great. And
Yeah,
so CoreLogic,
I can
tell you when to
probably
jump
add
in.
to that a little bit. You know, every time that we get a new engagement with an MLS, it's a learning experience. Moving to the Middle East, that is a whole nother level that we took things to. We did a lot of things different. We set up an entirely different group outside of the normal group just to focus on the international. We had attorneys in the area understand the market. We hired a senior project manager on the ground that could work with Ahmed's company in Dubai on a day-to-day basis. And I mean, there's challenges, the time difference, definitely the language, you know, translating everything in Matrix to Arabic and making it work with all the different functionality. You know, we've had a working group, probably 15 to 20 people on our side and hundreds of people on your side.
425.
To get to the point we are. So we're very confident in that we feel that it's going to be successful. You know, CoreLogic is in a lot of different businesses in mortgage and insurance. And so from an infrastructure standpoint, and you know, one thing we haven't talked a lot about the conference is we want all the data in a database and we want it clean, but the security of that data is also very important. In the U.S., you know, there have been a couple incidents over the last year where the data has been hacked and held hostage, and so, you know, we spend probably tens of millions of dollars on security each year, and that's something that we brought to Ahmed's group just so that he doesn't need to worry about that. But it has been a long journey to get to the point we are, and so we're very excited to see what Ahmed can do now going forward.
Great. Anthony, what do you think, the challenges and opportunities?
Well, a lot of challenges, I can tell you that, because I started in real estate in 1999. Prince made a song about it. And then in 2007, I went to a convention in the States, and I got to know MLS. Well, I actually didn't know it, so it was like amazing to me, because in Belgium and in big parts of Europe, when you start an agency, it's like starting a cafe without beer. Why beer? Belgium has good beers. So before you can start selling, you need to get your listings. And in the States, it's different. You start in real estate, you plug into the MLS, you have thousands of listings. So I thought that was really amazing to have that system. And so in 2007, I started researching the MLS, and I must say, one of the mentors in that space, without him knowing, is Sol Klein, because I learned a lot from his blog posts and stuff like that. So I really got into the details of what an MLS is. And as Sol just posted, what if we could reinvent the MLS knowing what we know now and using the technologies that we have now? And that's exactly what a venture that I started in 2007. And then it was the REDS standards, so we kind of built on that. And it gradually went further and further, a lot of iterations, a lot of lines of code, in total 2 million lines of code that we created. And the big difference between our MLS and other MLSs is that we are agent-centric. So it's not that you connect to the MLS and you have everything. It's like Facebook, you connect to it, you make your friends, and then you start sharing your listings. So RESO is a very good system to kind of standardize things. I'm a bootstrapped company, so everything comes out of my pockets. I'm still an agent, broker, so I earn my money and invest it directly into MLS. So we are also planning on going to the new standard of RESO with time and money.
Great, thank you. Martin.
I think for us, we brought the concept from the US and Canada. I've been working a lot with Carlos Gras sitting here, with Realm and Amplify. We're kind of thinking, how do we bring this technology but optimize this for Europe, which is at the end completely different market. And at that point, we were discussing also the standards. And although things were running on REDS, we said the future is RESO, and we should do a RESO. And I spoke back then with Sam, and we went on it. So we are today running on RESO in the Czech Republic. It was challenging because everybody in Czech Republic, there are different technology providers, and they all have in-house homemade standards, which basically is not very good. You can't do much with it. And everything in the Czech Republic and in Europe generally runs around the real estate portals, because you just think about life cycle of the listing on the portal. So we basically had to build a lot around it and do a lot of education. And people had to understand that the MLS, it's not the real estate portal. It's so much more than that. We then work with the Real Estate Association in the Czech Republic, with Honza Borůvka from ARKA, to create actually an MLS rules, how people should work together. And it took us 18 months to actually take and create a model that will be, first of all, also fully compliant, the compliance, all the legal part, the KYC, the AML, the GDPR, and all the other things you can imagine, and the antitrust and all of the other things. So we went through all of that to basically creating it. But in the same time, we were thinking, what is the future, of this? Like, where are we going with that? And for us, we are also partly owned by the CSOB group, which is a part of the KBC group, which is a large Belgian bank. We said, okay, how can we further bring the real estate and the finance together, because it's a very important component for people buying and renting homes, and how can we fully integrate the services? So last year when I was here, I spoke about digitization of mortgages and being part of the transaction, and this is actually what we are launching now this fall. We have created a fully digital mortgage process, which is part of the system. The broker can invite the customer. They can, through the digital identity that Czech Republic has, connect and get approved, pre-approved for a mortgage within 10 minutes, and directly throughout the bank, and it's all based on the data. The data is very powerful. We can also appraise each of the property from distance for apartments and single-family homes in some cities. So we are making it really very efficient and very also helpful for the brokers. Whereas the brokers in Europe, especially in the Czech Republic, are not used to work with the buyers. They solely represent sellers, and there are no really proper buyer services. So we are currently discussing, what is the future? How can we bring these services and kind of, create sort of nice sort of packages for the consumer, so they understand that the buyer, it's not just I find on the portal and I live. It stays like process between that.
Right. So it's more of an ecosystem, it sounds like.
it's becoming sort of, we are kind of thinking about the multiple different backends we are connecting, if it's the appraisal services, if there are the mortgage services, the MLS data and other parts, but everything is happening seamlessly on the single front end.
Right.
So the consumer doesn't need to leave anywhere.
So they all work together, the different components, which I know that is one of the things that RESO really focuses on is interoperability. In fact, they have a work group on interoperability, just meaning the individual pieces will work with each other so that whether it's in one seamless system or a bunch of vendors that want to plug into each other, that's definitely the vision of RESO. So I wonder if you all could comment individually on that RESO ecosystem and the interoperability. How do you see that maybe going forward? What could RESO do to support that? Ahmed?
You know, I think it's about time for, for marketplaces to use the same language. And I see RESO is doing a great job for that. I was just talking to Sam about it, and I asked him, like, I would love to be part of RESO. We're part of RESO, but I would love to see, how we can use RESO more to advance our business, to make our business better, as we have marketplace today at the Middle East, one of the largest or the only marketplace at the Middle East that run by MLS. He gave me a great answer. He said, you work with CoreLogic, and CoreLogic is automatically with RESO. So you don't have to do anything. You're already working with CoreLogic. So that's a big plus for us, having a CoreLogic being part of RESO. So it's part of the game.
And what I would say is CoreLogic's always been a big supporter of RESO, and will continue to be. And it's interesting because when we started working with Ahmed, and like everybody knows, the data is different everywhere, right? Everywhere you go. And so, we had a long conversation up front that said, we're going to follow RESO standards, but understand that the data is not where it needs to be. So we're going to get your system set up, but we're going to always be going in the direction of RESO and where RESO is moving. And to be honest with you, there will be a time where Ahmed wants to share data and have other people come into his system, and he goes into other systems, and that framework will allow us to do that a lot easier when we get to that point. We've had a lot of work to do before that, but we have that in our mind. And as part of our team, that's one of the objectives that we're moving towards as we grow the platform.
Great. Anthony?
I think a big issue is the country-specific fields, because like RESO is based on the American system. I'll give you a very bizarre example. Let's say in Dubai they have green and blue grass. It's not already in RESO. So the system that we build is we can automatically add a new field to the MLS and activate it just in that region or even in that country. So I think that's something that RESO can help us with in creating that system that we can say, okay, in this region, in that country, that's the field that needs to be added, and it only gets loaded when you are effectively in that area.
Great, thank you. Martin, what do you think? How can RESO support a growing ecosystem of products?
For me, it's really all about the efficiency, because you have a standard. It's like, it's like sort of like a plug, for the phone. I just come, I plug in, I charge my phone, I'm pretty much done. If you don't have it, then it's very difficult to integrate with anything. It gets expensive, time-consuming, so it's not very efficient way to do anything. So I'll give you an example. For example, Ali has a great company with different real estate websites. It's a RESO web API. We can take it, plug it in, and use it. And it's good, for the market to have one standard, which you can obviously optimize and localize. So that's what we have done in the Czech Republic. We run on the RESO model generally, but we also have an optimization for the local, let's say, the large portals, because they will not adopt it. They would ideally like us not to exist at the first place, but that's a second.
That's another panel.
That's a second problem. But to this one, so we're actually very happy about the dictionary and about the look. It took 25 years to get here. There is still a very long way to go, and building your own standard makes no sense. And it's also good for the small countries, because if you have a little countries like Czech Republic with 10 million people, Slovakia with 5 million people, and other countries have one additional problem. The countries are so small, so if a large company from the US wants to go there, they will not even much consider it. It's such a small market, too much work, too much effort. But having that plug actually helps you and make it more attractive and easier to enter the markets. So we are generally a big fans of that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. And that has been a stated goal of RESOLS for a long time, is to really foster a plug-and-play environment. And so I'm happy to hear that that is the vision that you all share as well. And so I'm just curious about the different protocols that RESO has. We've talked about how it has grown not just from the United States, but globally now. And other panels have discussed how they're developing software on their own internally or partnering. I know that in the United States, we've got the National Association of Realtors conference with an enormous trade show floor where vendors are plentiful. And so they want to help grow that ecosystem. So I just wonder, how would the adoption be better served? What are things that we can do to help technology come from wherever, whether it's the United States or any other country, so that we could have a more global standard?
I think that the more that we can get people following the RESO standards, like in our platform, we look at it as an ecosystem. And so we have the platform, we have an agent portal, we have mobile, and then we have multiple integrations and alliance partners that are all tying in, because we want our customers to be able to go just to our platform and do everything that they need to do without going to our platform and then going here and going here and going here. And so the more that we can get the standards and the data standards, it makes those integrations easier, and it allows us to get more alliance, so that when we have a customer, they can go to their members, and their members know that they can come to our system and be able to do basically everything they need to do. And having consistent data makes all of that so much easier.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that RESO tries to do is the certification of MLSs. And so every time a new data dictionary version is adopted, then MLSs have sort of a countdown timer where they need to adopt it. So do you think that that is something that's working?
That's a great point. Yes, that should be one of the main things that works, the certification. And like just getting your system certified and go with the guidelines and all this, like everybody speak the same language. Unifying the data is so important, so the certification is important. And again, everything comes directly from the MLS, which is your data is coming out, speak the same language for RESO. So, by certified the certification program for your MLS or for your data is going to save everybody work in every country, the hassle, and everybody's going to speak the same language. Unifying the data and certification, yes.
I think in Europe, the biggest hurdle that RESO needs to take is getting the message to the agents that working together is the way to go. Because
yes.
in Europe, you have exclusive listings, you have non-exclusive listings. I'm from Belgium. We have a very strict rules on real estate, so I think the strictest in the whole world. But like in France, you can have one house that's for sale with 7, 10, 20 different agents. We saw a picture of a same listing at different prices. So we kind of have to get the mindset to the people that working together is much better. And why is it that in this market in Europe you have so many non-exclusive listings? It's because the end user, the client, we must not forget the client, because the client is our most important asset. The client says, okay, if I give it to you and you cannot sell it or you don't do enough for it, I'm kind of locked to you. So what they do, they say, I'll give it to you, I'll give it to you, I'll give it to you. But what they don't understand is that if they give it to everyone, nobody does anything. They kind of put it out there and they hope it gets sold. So if you give it to somebody exclusively, then you can have somebody investing in your listing. And that's something, it has nothing to do with standards, but it has to do with the mindset. That's something that we all, as leaders in Europe, need to get to our clients, need to explain that it's better to work exclusively, but that exclusive listing will be disseminated with tens or hundreds of other agents working on it. So I think if you take something back from this convention, it's that we really need to work on a different mindset in Europe.
Yeah, I would add to that too, that like I mentioned earlier, we're in 20 countries now with Matrix. And what I've noticed is the ones that are most successful are the companies that we're working with that have spent a lot of time with the government and gotten the government on board at some extent, right? It's different with every government, and there are plenty of people that would prefer the government not to be involved because it changes their economics. But I will say that, and I think Arab MLS is a good example, is before we even got involved, Ahmed had worked with the governments in Egypt and in different countries in the Arab MLS, and having the government on board with what you're trying to do makes a tremendous difference because they have a lot of influence on the data, how the data can be used, and just being able to explain to them the positives of doing things a certain way. It really accelerates the amount of users. And then with more users, you have more data. With more data, you have more people. It's like a domino effect,
Yeah,
you know.
the network effect.
And so that's one thing that I do think, and I understand it's very difficult and it's different in every country. But you know, trying to use the countries that have been successful as an example of what it can do to improve the real estate for the consumer, I think is very important.
Martin?
You know, I think for us, I think looking about the ISO standards, I think there is additional things could be done. I give a good example in Europe, standardization, you know, of let's say square meters, you know, for usable area, things like that, because it's a wild west, wild east. That's one. The other thing interesting, it's very useful for cross-border transaction. I'll give you a fun example. Czech Republic has something called 1+KK. That the only Czech people know what it is. It's a 1 room, 1 bathroom, 1 kitchen. So it's a KK, it's like these two parts. It's very different. Only Czech Republic has it, not even Slovakia. It used to be one country. So, you know, standardizing things like that would be very helpful for the cross-border transaction. Good for business. Just that you know, we are also financing, being part of the bank also finances cross-border transactions. If you want to buy a place in Spain, for example, or in Croatia or elsewhere. That's one thing for the cross-border transaction. And then obviously moving forward, you have the real estate data, but I think what will be also very interesting to standardize maybe the brokerage data, like the agents data, like the CRM sort of part, like the people, like the customers, who is the customer, what is the lead, and how these whole things play together. I think that will be also a very interesting part of the standardization.
So RISO does have like member and office resources there, but I don't know how they're translated, and that's definitely something that is a work in progress, is getting all of the different languages, and not just, for example, like Spanish maybe in Spain is a little bit different than Spanish in Mexico or other countries, and so having the ability to really be flexible on the language translation is something that's already in the plan for RISO. For those of you that want to know more, there is an educational course, the Red B plan, or the Red B educational course that RISO has created. is definitely something that you might want to check out if you want to know more there. But I like, Martin, that you talked about what you would like to see for your individual marketplace, and I wonder if the rest of you have specific things for your marketplaces that you think might be helpful.
I think it's time for everybody to work together. It's time, I think Rezo as the company that have the data, standard data, Rezo also need to be the company that bring everybody together. I see this as a big responsibility on Rezo to bring everybody together. Like, I'm going to say it, I'm the first one to start the Middle East MLS, which is, I talk about this 3 years ago, 15 years ago was my dream to build the MLS. I've been lucky to work with a big company like CoreLogic. Today, I have a great partnership with other big companies. But I think it's time for everybody to get together, and I see Rezo can be a great connector. As a company have no, like it's not related to any part of other part. As a company, is between all of us. Can unify everybody together, build this kind of momentum. Because today at the Middle East, I see, I'm Egyptian American. I lived in America for 37 years. I work in America for real estate for 25 years. So I see this as a bigger, like today, all the eyes is coming to the Middle East, which is great. But we want Rezo also to come to be part of this, to come, like, let's say, at a company like Arab MLS, the same, like, and they're doing a great job, I'm not saying, but we want Rezo to come and, support our business the same way CoreLogic came. It was a huge challenge for us to get CoreLogic to the Middle East, but they also saw the potential before everybody else. When I went and I talked to CoreLogic about the MLS, they were like, we're not interested to open at the Middle, like we're expanding big, but give us another year. But they saw the opportunity before everybody, and they came and Scott is here. We invested millions of dollars. Like our project is not the project that for, like you said, entrepreneur that spend like we were talking about it. Is our project is not the guy. He have a dream and he spent $1 million. They invested millions. We invested millions. A big part of our company, Arab MLS, because a lot of people ask. 25% of my company owned by the biggest bank at the Middle East, and nobody knows the first time I say this. It's Al Baraka Bank, and they are the biggest mortgage lender at the whole Middle East, and they own 25% of our company. And they are like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac at the middle in America. They are the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac in the mortgage, and the Islamic. We do it in an Islamic way because in our religion. And this is big part of the religion that a lot of people doesn't understand about our culture. So, we want to have Rezo step into the Middle East. I'm talking about my markets and connect us with everybody around the world. And, I see big potential. I see big business happening. And this convention, the whole forum, it showed that there is movement about the MLS. And a lot of people now seeing the potential and the jobs can the MLS create around the world. Because it's not about the MLS. It's about creating jobs. It's about unifying the data. It's about making the transaction easy by using Rezo and having an MLS and unify data. So I see everybody have to come together now. This is the time that we all have to get together, to work together.
One of the things I would say is historically, CoreLogic, we didn't proactively go to other countries and look to set up an MLS. We've obviously done work with Omni that is in Latin America. And then we met with Ahmed, and he had a vision, and he was capitalized to where we could put all the resources and focus on 18, 24 months to get off the ground. But we've learned, we've had some partners that we've partnered with that didn't make it, which is going to be common. And then we have others that have made it and are being successful. And so now we have the team and the experience to where we're proactively seeking out companies that want to start an MLS in their country. And we've even built profiles on kind of what that looks like and what those individuals, we like them to have the government relations, be well capitalized, to have technology teams that can work with us. And so I do think that there will be more international MLSs growing at different paces, at different styles over time. But the more that we can kind of frame them towards one standard, they may all come at different times, but if they're all going in the same direction, we're all going to be a lot better off.
Makes sense.
I think there's one thing that RESO needs to not take care of, but be conscious of. That is, and I think that's a big mistake made in the States. You centralize all the data, and then you have a Zillow that kind of plugs in and takes all that data and then sells it back to the agents. And I'm here the voice of an agent because I'm an agent myself. So that's something that we in Europe, I think, need to be, and in the Middle East, need to be very careful about, because when you're on a special system in Zillow, and you do a sale, you need to give 40% of your commission to them. So I don't think that it's the intention of RESO nor the intention of the MLSs in Europe to go that way. So as Saul said, we must learn from our past mistakes, and if we would reinvent it, how would we do it? So there's no way that Yes MLS is going to work with, in Belgium we have IMOWeb, that they can kind of work on the back of the agent. So that's something that is very important in Europe, also for the mindset of the agents that want to join, because if they know that that's a possibility, that their data will be sold and then they need to buy it back, that's a no-go.
I think maybe for me, when I look at it, I
100%.
think there are two parts. I think one is the RESO itself, and I think to me it's a data standard, and they're doing a great job. I'm really happy, and we are really happy to be able to build on top of all the great work you are doing. And obviously there's a lot that could be done moving forward, but it's a real estate data standard. On the other side, looking into the MLSs and looking into the transaction, to me, real estate is local. It's not. It's global, but it's local in the same time. I cannot imagine, the way I see it, Czech Republic, it's sort of governed by the Czech Republic, but if I want to do cross-border transaction, I should be able to find someone else trustworthy in that other market and seeing that sort of a international collaboration. But I can easily see that each market is very unique, and going and entering any other market technologically just doesn't make sense enough. You need people, and you need to understand the market. And the markets look very similar, so to say, but they are very different in the same time. So I think, therefore, I see the real estate being local, the transaction being local, and the global-wise, I see the standard in terms of a data standard, and creating some sort of a standard of the quality of the services, and sort of creating a trust, through that. If I do a transaction in Belgium, there is someone I can trust on the other side who has the same principles.
Yeah, of course.
Right. Like referral. Yeah. And definitely, RESO is obviously focused on the technology level, to where it is nice, though, I will say, going to their work group meetings, and you really have a cross-section of brokers and MLSs and software vendors and agents and associations like the National Association of Realtors or others. So it is really fun to be able to work with that cross-section towards a singular goal. And sometimes things that are not related to RESO certainly come up in mostly the lobby bar, but there definitely is a difference between just the technology rules and the business rules, which is a lot of what MLSs do. So
maybe it's a good idea that they have, of course, every time we need to go to a workshop of RESO, we need to take a plane, that they kind of have hubs in Europe, in Middle East, that we can work.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
There we
actually.
go.
We need some offices, Sam. We need some offices in Dubai or Egypt or Abu Dhabi or so. Yeah. But I have one point, the consumer also is so important. Okay. Because I always teach, everybody at my company, and in Egypt, actually, but nobody understands how powerful the Egyptian real estate market is. We just had a deal with the Abu Dhabi for $38 billion, just one island in Egypt. We just signed this with the government. Mr. Jassim here, he knows the deal and everything from the government in Abu Dhabi. So we sell at least $1 trillion a year. We always think, like, we have 140 million people. We have licensed brokers, over 6 million or 7 million people. They do real estate. And we sell millions of dollars. It's always about the consumer. You know, we have to think about what the consumer is looking for. How they're going to read the data. How they're going to understand the data. When Rizzo do the data, let's say for a country like Egypt or the Middle East, the buying behaviors is completely different than the buying behaviors in America. I lived in America. I bought a house in America. I sold. And in Egypt and the Middle East, the consumer behavior is different. So I think it's time also to do some survey and research to understand if you want to explore your business or you want to expand in these countries, you want to understand the process or the behavior. And this is one of the things CoreLogic did, actually. We did due diligence, and we had some research and buying behavior, how people thinking, how they're going to do transaction, how the MLS work. We took some part, like we did a modification to the MLS. When you see the MLS we did for Egypt, it's different than Dubai, it's different than America. Why? Based on the buying behavior. So I think Rizzo, like we said, we need Sam to open office at the Middle East, and we're going to support all the way. Like I'm here, I'm saying we will support the Rizzo office in the Middle East and in Europe. And I see Europe is upcoming huge. Once we have the MLS implemented in Europe, this will be a history making. And, you know, I wish you guys all the best. And, you know, I'm looking forward to work with everybody here. Like, we're looking forward to work with Europe and connect with each other, to have one global market connected with each other's.
That's the dream.
Yes, it's going to happen. No, it's not a dream. Like, if you think what I think 3 years ago, I will never imagine having an MLS working today, having a company like CoreLogic. I have vendors is begging me to work today. No, it's not a dream.
No, that's the dream that a client can connect with an agent in Czechoslovakia or in Belgium
Italy.
or in France, and that he wants to buy something in another part of the world, that we connect them in a perfect way and in a safe way.
Correct.
And I think we need to go.
I agree with you 100%.
That's certainly a wonderful vision to pursue. And with that, I think we're out of time. Please help me thank our wonderful panel. Thank you.